The top business stories live from the Sky newsroom. Retail sales disappoint again despite the hottest June on record in England, pointing towards a sharp slowdown in the economy. Eat a few more vegetables. Samsung tells Sky News how it plans to keep more people out of hospital. Plus, we'll be talking about some of the strictest age verification rules in the UK, in the world, which have come into force in the UK today. A very good morning. Welcome to Business Live on this Friday with me, Darren McCaffrey. Disappointing retail sales have pointed to a sharp slowdown in the economy. Despite a strong start to the year, retail sales rose by just 0.9% over the second quarter of 2025, after economists polled by Reuters had forecast a rise of 1.2%. Retail sales contributed only 0.01% to our GDP, despite June having been England's warmest on record, according to the Met Office. Well, let's speak to Deanne Evans, Europe Managing Director at the e-commerce platform Spotify. Very good morning to you. Just on those figures that we were talking about there, Deanne, things are reasonably tough out there, aren't there, for retailers? Why do you think that is?
Look, I think that the June figures will be, welcome news for some retailers, because we did see a slight increase after a decrease in May. And there are a few areas where we are seeing some bright shoots in areas for retailers to take advantage of and really try to drive sales across the board. And so there are, of course, macroeconomic factors that are happening. There are consumer confidence indexes that are down, but we are seeing areas like warm weather-driven products like insect repellents, evaporator coolers, things like that, where consumers are spending, and we're seeing triple-digit growth. And at Shopify, we drive in-store commerce and online operations for millions of merchants across the globe, some here in the UK, like Boden, Gymshark, where we are helping to support their in-commerce and retail operations.
Yeah, as you say, often in the good weather, things like barbecues also do well, don't they? And people get out and buy. What influence, by the way, does the weather have on sales? Earlier this year, I was told that actually the good weather means that people buy fewer things online. They tend to go out to the shops more, and yet these recent figures seem to suggest almost the opposite. Maybe the weather doesn't have as much effect as we think it does.
Well, we did see, as I said, we saw an increase from the weather on some of these products that are warm weather focused. But what we really do see is that from both an in-store and online perspective, consumers want to shop everywhere. So it's really this retail everywhere mindset that retailers need to have. They need to be available to consumers wherever they're shopping, whatever channels that might be, and businesses like Shopify help support that.
We're also told, though, that actually confidence in the economy in UK households is pretty low. It's lower than it was essentially this time last year. Have you found that, and how does that compare elsewhere in Europe?
So if we think about consumer confidence, we are seeing that it is going down. But again, if retailers implement a strategy where they think about things like we talked about weather being one, another might be cultural moments. So we're seeing retailers that take advantage of cultural moments. For instance, Wimbledon. Right, we did see a year-over-year increase in sales of tennis rackets. I think it was 62% for tennis balls and something a bit smaller for tennis rackets. But we're seeing an increase when retailers really develop a strategy around things like cultural moments. I'll use Oasis as an example. So we saw, we just talked a bit about warm weather driving sales for products around that, but we also saw an increase in parkas by over 200% parka sales, driven by, obviously, Gallagher fever. And so retailers need to think about things like that and ways that they can drive different ways to take advantage of cultural moments. On the flip side, like you said, from the consumer confidence perspective, we do see that UK consumers are shopping for discounts, right? 83% saying that they're looking for a discount in price comparison shopping. And so this is something that we need to think about when you're a retailer developing your strategy. How do you develop your discounting strategy, but maybe tie it to an overall loyalty program? So you're thinking more strategically about how you drive sales.
Okay, and just very, very briefly, if you can, Deanne, just on terms of AI, we talk about this every day, but I'm sure it is changing your business quite significantly.
Yeah, we're really excited about AI from a discovery and search perspective. This is going to be another channel that consumers are going to be able to use to really go out and find products, to find new retailers. And so it's something that it's a great opportunity.
OK, Deanne Evans from Shopify, thank you very much indeed for joining us live from Central London. Thank you.
Thank you.
OK, let's have a look at how the markets are doing on this Friday morning. Delighted to say that Lucy Coates joins me now, Investment Director, of course, at JM Fin. Lucy, very good morning to you. I'm going to start with luxury goods. We've talked about this quite a lot recently. They've been under a lot of pressure, and the sign of that is LVMH's performance.
Yes, good morning, Darren. Yeah, I mean, the first half revenue is sort of down 4% year on year. Now, it's actually better than analysts had feared, but the reason the shares are a little bit weaker today, they're just down 1.5%, is because its largest division, so it's leather and fashion and leather. It's the biggest one. It accounts for about half of its sales and 3/4 of its operating profit, and sales there are down 9%. And I think that's what investors are focusing on. But, it will take time for LVMH to return to growth. The consumer is still under pressure. There are lots of macroeconomic uncertainties out there. But I think LVMH has the capabilities to manage better than most companies.
Isn't it extraordinary, though, because we think about the cost of living crisis there. A lot of people have been under, affecting kind of those on lower incomes, obviously those that buy luxury goods. Have the wealthy felt that much pressure in recent years? I mean, clearly they have, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. So normally in times of recession or economic pressure, luxury groups tend to do quite well because the consumers that their customer base really is unaffected. But we are seeing this pretty much across the board, whether you talk about Kering, whether you talk about LVMH. Hermes is an exceptional one. That's now Europe's largest company. And companies like Ferrari, they're pretty much unaffected. But where you've got slightly cheaper goods, multiple brands like LVMH, then there are certain elements which are showing weakness. And but as I say, I think it will see better days. It's a conglomerate.
Indeed, another company under pressure, Lucy, is Puma. They're down some 20% today. Explain why. Of course, they make sports clothes, they make trainers, don't they?
They do. I mean, this is a very, very big profit warning. So it's reported a loss for the first half, and we had expected a full year profit of 600 million euros, and that is now going to turn into a loss. So it's a very big turnaround. Now, its new CEO, who's only been in post since the 1st of July, he has said this is a year of reset. It's lost brand momentum. It shoes the Speed Cat. They haven't sold. There's increasing competition and popularity with Adidas's Samba shoe. So he needs to now look at the brand. The inventory needs to reduce. That's going to increase pressure on costs and sales. And then he's going to announce a new strategy in October. So it's a pretty horrible day for Puma. And obviously this affects other companies which are retailers like JD Sports, and their shares are down 2.5% in sympathy.
OK, and Lucy, just very finally, I don't think I can ever spend a business life not talking about AI or indeed, of course, Donald Trump. And we had that extraordinary scene at the Fed yesterday next to Jay Powell, where it's very clear that they really, really do not like each other.
Yeah, actually, when I was prepping for this piece today, I did say every time I'm with you, we seem to be talking about Trump's new fight, whether it's Musk or Zelensky, etc. The whole narrative really about Powell and the renovation costs is sort of a point to question the Fed's management in the public eye, and we know that Donald Trump wants interest rates cut. Powell's not doing his bidding. But he did actually say, Donald Trump, that he will not fire Jerome Powell, because I think he now knows that would destabilise financial markets. Okay. But tensions remain charged.
They really do. They really do. Lucy, as always, appreciate your time. Have a nice weekend. Thank you very much indeed.
You too. Bye.
Let's bring you up to date some of the rest of the business stories this morning. And British households are prioritising saving money over spending more. Talked about that, didn't we, during the last interview there. That's according to Consumer Confidence Survey. Neil Bellamy, Consumer Insights Director at GfK, found people are saving more than at any point since the global financial crisis, and said some people may be sensing stormy conditions ahead as the Chancellor prepares to raise taxes in the autumn budget. The media regulator in the United States has approved an $8 billion merger between Paramount Global and Skydance. The approval comes weeks after Paramount agreed to pay $16 million to settle a lawsuit with US President Donald Trump against CBS. And the NatWest Group gas raised its guidance for the year and announced a £750 million buyback after its second quarter earnings beat analyst estimates. Net interest income for the period came in at $3.1 billion, broadly in line with estimates, while pre-tax income rose 4.4% on a year ago to $1.8 billion. The bank also announced a 9.5 pence per share interim dividend. And you can get more on that story and indeed more on our Money blog. Just scan that QR codes, the big one in the middle of your screen right now, to access the Sky News app. We love a QR code. Now, a senior executive at Samsung has told Sky News the Korean tech firm wants to keep more people out of hospital by nudging them to eat a few more vegetables and do healthier things than they would have previously done in a bar. The comments come as Samsung's new lineup of folding phones and smartwatches ship today. Well, earlier I spoke to Samsung's Anika Bison, Vice President of Product and Marketing, by asking her what's different about this new line of devices.
Do you know what's super exciting is Samsung are known for being innovators, and what we have done in this launch is basically create foldable phones. And what are foldable phones? They're basically everything you expect you'd get on a standard bar-type phone. Brilliant camera, amazing processor, but we've also taken that to the next level. So you can open the phone and it becomes a full screen. And what you can do with that is you can watch content. You know, I travel a lot, I watch a lot of content on there. You can multitask, but it then folds neatly back into being a small package phone that you can fit into your pocket.
Is this what customers wanted, in the sense that is it just about the size? Why have it foldable?
We bring phones for everybody, right? And some people want to have the most innovative, most beautiful version of a phone, but they also want the basics that come with every phone that they'd expect from us. So that's, as I said, great battery, great camera, all of those things. But they want something different. They want to be able to not maybe carry a tablet around with them. They just want to be able to have everything in one package, and this gives them that.
Other things that are changing, of course, are kind of wearable technology. We know there's a lot of focus on and a lot of innovation going into essentially wearable technology. And that includes kind of monitoring our sleep, which seems to be this thing that everyone is slightly obsessing about at the moment.
I think the days of, if you go back to my generation, it's like you sleep when you're dead. You know, everybody was work hard, play hard, keep going. And now we're seeing a new stage of how people monitor and look at their health. And that's down to, do you know what, you need to understand what's the right sleep for you. And so we're giving, through our new smartwatches that are launching this week, Galaxy Watch 8, it's all about giving people the ability, through AI and advanced sensor technology, to understand what's the right sleep pattern for you, because sleep is the cornerstone of everything, whether that be your mental health, your physical health, or in fact, you know, how you socially interact and your work performance. All of those things are linked through sleep. So we're passionate about making sure that everybody gets the best night's sleep they can.
And there is this connection, though, isn't there, between AI and your kind of technological devices that you have with you all the time, and your health. And this is something that now the government are interested in as well, and health and medical professionals.
100%, because you know, Samsung with the new Galaxy Watch 8 are going into preventative health. And preventative health is giving you the tools that understand basically how you can stop yourself from going to hospital. Things like, and let me explain a few of them, an antioxidant index. What does that mean? That means through a sensor and through AI, we can look at and understand how many healthy vegetables are in your system, so how many carotenoids are in your system. And that can give you a really clear indicator of, actually, I'm a bit low, I need to eat more vegetables. Or, alongside that, something like measuring your vascular load. And your vascular load is all of the healthy blood vessels that healthy blood that's running around your system through that brings oxygen, gets rid of waste, and gives you a really clear indicator of heart health.
Is there a concern, though, that, and there has been a concern really since this technology came to play and we could access kind of answers, that we could monitor each other a bit too much, that people get too into. I mean, I read recently that people were waking up in the middle of their sleep, checking the fact that they were sleeping well.
Sleep maximizers, yeah.
You see what I mean, though, is in like, there's almost too much information, no?
I think there's a few things. One is, isn't it incredible that people are looking at their health in this much detail? Because we want to keep people out of hospitals, we want people to live healthier lives, and there's an awareness around that that's never been before. You know, we can see that 59% increase in running clubs because people want to spend more time doing healthy things than they would have done in a bar in the past. However, what we're doing is giving people the tools to monitor their health their way. And that's the really important differentiator. You know, it's understanding and looking at, you know, I don't want to keep people, I want to make sure as many people aren't in hospitals because we've given them those gentle nudges on the way to say, maybe eat a few more vegetables, maybe your sleep pattern isn't as it should be. Fads are one thing, we're here for the long term, and we're here to make sure that people understand their health throughout their life. The sleep I needed when I was 20 to the sleep I need now and yourself, very different.
Let's just talk about phones themselves and this technology. You know, there's quite complex supply chains often involved in lots of different parts of the world. We're through a period of turmoil at the moment, not least of all because of Donald Trump in the White House. What's your sense of the challenges that Samsung, the industry, faces in terms of trying to effectively still make those supply chains work with that uncertainty?
I think when you look at, we're a global business. We're always bringing products to market across the world and managing fluctuations on a number of levels. We look at this really closely, we monitor it really closely, but most importantly to us is making sure that the demand we're seeing, particularly with some of our premium phones and wearables, that we've got the products there in consumers' hands.
And just very finally on this then, what next? Because we call these things phones, yeah. You know, 90% of the time we don't use them to actually call anyone. In fact, if you listen to young people, that's even less and less. So what is next? I mean, is the phone still the bedrock of what we call a phone? Or, I mean, what's the next innovation? I know other people are looking at a third device, for example, or a different device that they might well interact with in the future.
I think what you're seeing is a really exciting time where you're seeing AI technology through things like generative AI, being able to take a photo and move not just one thing from the background, but move a number of things out of the background, or audio arrays, they're being able to take a noise out of a video you've taken. We're seeing that companionship through AI and how it can give you tweaks in your life to take away the mundane as well, to make your life easier, really come to fruition. And that's going to be really exciting over the next 12 months, alongside what we've just launched in incredible form factors, better quality products than you've ever seen before, that are thinner, lighter, and work with your life.
OK, you're watching Business Live on this Friday morning. Coming up next, from today, users must prove they're over the age of 18 to access pornography. We'll be speaking to an age verification company about how it all works after the break.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
I just took a shower above the clouds. You know why? Because this is the Emirates A380. Fly Emirates, fly better. Thank you.
Very welcome back. We're just going to return to a story that's developed in the last hour or so, and that is that Jay Slater died an accidental death in Tenerife. That's according to an inquest this morning. The 19-year-old, you may remember, disappeared on the Spanish island last summer, which led to a 4-week search before his body was found in a ravine. Well, the family of Jay Slater have now departed court, and we can bring in our North of England correspondent, Katie Barnfield, who is in Preston for us. And Katie, as I say, we've had the conclusion of this coroner's report within the last hour.
We have indeed. The coroner said, as you say, that this was an accidental death, that Jay died on the 17th of June last year in the Juan Lopez ravine in Tenerife, and that he had died after a fall. He said he had multiple skull fractures and pelvic fractures that were consistent with that injury, and that he would have died instantly. For background, Jay went missing after he was attempting to walk back to the apartment where he was staying with his friends on the other side of the island. He'd met two British men while he was out on holiday, and decided to go back to their holiday let after a night out, which was around an 11-hour walk from where he was staying. And crucially, the coroner said there was no third-party involvement in Jay's death. This case, of course, has attracted a huge amount of speculation, theories, conspiracy theories online. The coroner hoping to put some of that to rest today. We also heard from Jay's mum, Debbie, inside court today. His family left court very quickly when they came out. This has obviously been very distressing for them. She said that Jay was always the centre of attention, a popular boy with many friends, and that he was counting down the days before he flew to Tenerife for this festival. She said their hearts were broken and their lives will never be the same. She also referred to the huge amounts of interest in the case, saying that people should remember that Jay was a real person and not just a story full of untruths. As I say, there was massive interest in this case at the time. His family started a Facebook group to try and gain information about where he might have been. Jay was missing for a month before he was found, and hundreds and thousands of people joined that Facebook group, people even deciding to fly out to Tenerife themselves to conduct their own investigations. And the coroner today even referred to that. He addressed the family directly, and he said that he was sorry that this level of speculation online had made things so much more difficult for them. So as I say, the conclusion, the inquest has now concluded a verdict of accidental death. Whether that will put to rest some of these online speculation and theories remains to be seen.
OK, Katie, thank you very much indeed. Now, some of the strictest rules in the world for age verification have come into force in the UK. Starting today, adults who try to access pornography will be required to prove they are over the age of 18. Well, let's speak to Andy Lullum. He is the Chief Operating Officer at Verify My, who do age verification checks for Google and adult sites and others. Andy, very good morning to you. Just first of all, how does this work? Is it a bit like when you applied to set up a bank account online? Is that the kind of thing we're talking about here?
So Ofcom have listed 7 methods as being capable of being highly effective, and we at Verify My offer 5 of them. But it's important to reiterate that this is age assurance or age verification, where a user simply has to anonymously prove if they are over 18. It is not, as you say, a requirement for everyone to disclose their identity to the adult platform, which they might typically have to do if they were creating a bank account or a gambling account, for example.
So how do you do that without giving away who you are? That sounds rather odd.
So there are different methods that are available to you. Yes, you can choose to do an identity document scan with a face match, but you can also choose to prove your age just by using your email address, for example, or a facial age estimation check. It is as simple as that. And that data is provided to the age assurance provider such as VerifyMy, but importantly, the only thing that then gets passed on to the adult platform is a binary yes or no as to whether that individual is over 18 or not.
But my word, we live in an age, don't we, in which everyone's concerned about hacking. We've seen a lot of that this year. How can you guarantee to people that the data that you hold on them will not be hacked and end up in the hands of people who might want to use it nefariously?
Well, it's a really good question and it's really relevant. The first thing to say is that we only collect the minimum amount of data that is required to complete the age check. It is only used for the purposes of age verification, and it is deleted as soon as the age verification check has been completed. So notwithstanding that, when we do hold data, it is stored at the highest possible encryption level. So for example, if you're doing an email-based check, it would be no different or no than using your email address to log on with a password at any site online.
What about VPNs? Lots of people say, that's the easy way around all of this.
So some similar legislation in other parts of the world has seen an increase in the use of VPNs. But according to Ofcom, the regulator for this legislation, platforms that encourage the use of VPNs to get around age checks will be investigated. And my understanding is that VPNs absolutely do not remove the responsibility for platforms to prevent children from accessing their sites. Some VPNs these days can also be detected by certain types of technology.
OK, it's fascinating, and we will see how it all works out for those companies. Andy, we really appreciate your time this morning from VerifyMy. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've got views on that at home. OK, that is it from me on Business Live for this morning. We're back, of course, as usual, at 4:30 this afternoon. Join me then if you can. The rest of the news coming up at midday. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.